how much time to give it from the time I hit start streaming to the time the audio actually begins. When I first started doing these, I think I was cutting myself off, starting to speak sooner than it was actually going. So this will be February year 3. Okay, so I made a note of it in the chat as well. February year 3 begins now. So let's see if we can find this Pillman of which they speak. I presume he'd just be over in the America section. And there he is. The salary is reasonable. He's a junior heavyweight, which I really need. So I'll offer him as much as they'll let me offer him, and well, I'm glad he doesn't hate us. 30 grand. Well, so much for that. And I'm curious now to look. I guess I could go this way with it as well. Give you all a quick look at what companies have what wrestlers. I mean, the ones that started with like 4 or 5 wrestlers on the roster, they haven't added guys really. They've tried to, it seems like at least they've tried to stay close to that opening number. Like, I think Aero Lucha in the, now going into this year 3, they dropped, I think, Sammy Guevara and signed Ricochet. And as far as I can remember, that's it. They may have one other change, but. And then I've got UWFI, throw back to the mid-90s Japanese promotion, and a lot of creative liberty there. Basically, I put the shooters in there. MMA guys. Guys that you don't want to have angry at you. And it happens, Josh Barnett pulled up here. That's one of the most intense things I've ever seen was that Cow Palace show I was talking about a little while earlier. The Jay White, Juice Robinson match. When Juice Robinson got Irish whipped into the barricade and Jim Ross got knocked over. I mean, I was ringside for that. I was over, I had a very good view. And it was like, I was almost aghast. Like, Jim Ross gets knocked over? What's he doing taking a bump? And at his age and his health condition? And it quickly became obvious it was not part of the show because Josh Barnett, you know, I heard the profanity he used on television after that happened. And then he actually legitimately tried to chase after Jay White. I don't know what would have happened if he would have caught him. It probably wouldn't have been good. But point being, Josh Barnett, I think, could hang with the shooters. Could you imagine this is a 5-on-5 Survivor Series team? Good luck with that. Even if you only picked 4. I mean, this game can only give you up to 8. Not that I'm planning a AEW versus UWFI show anytime soon. My guys come out of there all beaten up. Okay, so Pillman remains in the game. I wasn't able to sign him there. So I could... Okay, well, we'll see if we can get on the... I think I'm on the invite screen. Yes, I am. That's WWE. Not looking at... One decision I made was a tough choice with the Young Bucks. You only start with 6 slots, and I know there's a cheat to it, but when I started this, that cheat had not been revealed yet. And so I made a tough choice. It was like, I pretended it's like, okay, it's like an alternate world where the Young Bucks didn't go to AEW, and they didn't get the huge cash behind them as they started with, you know, a very low amount of money. Downside to that is that now you got Matt Jackson in one company, I think Nick's in the other. And it's not like these other companies run shows that you can see. They'll have title changes they'll tell you about. And maybe there's part of the internal process and they just don't show it to you. I don't know. But when you got a company that's got 5 guys, 6 guys, I mean, it's just, you know, unless you bring just a ton of outsiders every show, not exactly much for match longevity. I guess I'll see if I can get Pillman in just for this one show. I don't know if Pac's healthy. Pillman versus Pac would be pretty fun as a one-off. 13 grand. Okay. All right, so we got Pillman. hold off on any further invites for the moment. Yeah, I think I didn't do New Japan any favors by setting up as King's Road instead of Strong. I made All Japan Stoic. And actually, I'm not sure if I've got one that is in here as Strong. I was trying to check off all the boxes that I could when I was setting this up, but it was mixed emotions. I was in a hurry to try this. I've been waiting more than 20 years since I first played Fire Pro wanting something like this, but I wanted to make sure it was set up at least somewhat properly. Okay, take a look real quick at the health conditions. I know that Mike Awesome's still hospitalized on doctor's orders for 1 more month. So Gordy's going to need some rest after taking back-to-back thumpings from Kenny Omega. And speaking of that, I'll jump down here to check. He's in good condition. Goldberg, though. Goldberg's got the next shot. Jericho, and that belt next to him is the ECW Heavyweight Championship. But I'm not having him defend that. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. But just for now, I've stuck with my own titles. And when I can bring somebody in that's got a belt that I can take, I'll take advantage. And I know you can win them as well in tournaments, but I've not yet had an offer for a tournament since I found out the way it works when they offer it to you. I was confused by that initially, but you have to actually go to the company and then send somebody to them, like you're sending a tribute or something. Okay, well, I was going to do my count right here. So I've got the one that I've already got coming in with Pillman for the invite. And as far as healthy wrestlers, so that's 17. They're healthy enough here to go with the one in Pillman. Make sure I counted this correctly. Okay, it is 17, and then in addition to that, the one being Pillman at 18. If I did all singles matches, I could do an 8-match card, which I don't think I've done before. I might have tried it once and had somebody no-show. So Ambrose and Neville have reached S levels. That's as high as it gets, popularity-wise. The match is Omega and Jericho. Part of me that wants to do like a dream match main event, Ambrose and Pac against Jericho and Omega, and Goldberg can wait another month for his next title shot. And that's going to take away the possibility of an 8-match show, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and book the event now. And this loan is the part where if I wanted to send somebody to another company, but there wasn't one of those promised tournaments that you see sometimes at the end of a month to pop up for me. Only imagine how many guys I'd lose to injury if I did a barbed wire deathmatch card or a landmine deathmatch. I've been to an all cage match show, Lockdown 2012, TNA. Built up James Storm in his hometown and then beat him in his hometown. Okay, so we'll go with 7 matches on this show with a tag team main event and singles for the rest. And I don't think that I've ever actually had this particular match, even though all 4 of these guys go back to the early days for me. I say early days, I mean this is year 3, but toward the very beginning. No, they did. Okay, it was like the second show that I had, they were the main event, so I think it's fresh after 2 years to have them rematch. Plus, this time the tag team championship's on the line. Although I don't remember if that was the case 2 years ago, and I guess it doesn't really matter. Because this one's for the championship here. Either way. Not a lot of costume options. This was a New Japan build of Chris Jericho. Nothing official, not from the New Japan downloadable content, but somebody made this with, I think that was his outfit from Wrestle Kingdom from January of 2018, so 13, 14 months ago. But only 2 options for him there, but the only major difference being the way his hair is set up on there. Sorry, beat CIMA. Pillman's an A. I'm not going to defend the title against Pillman, as I don't want him to leave the promotion with my belt. Doesn't have to be a championship match, though. Go regular with this one. Oh, it's stuck on remove wrestler. You have to tab away from that and then hit enter, and then it'll tell you. Go with the black and yellow like he's the Steelers. And we'll give Pillman his Cincinnati Bengals style. We'll go AFC North with this. Yeah, with this edit, there's like a blue and a red that doesn't really seem to fit him. That's his Hollywood Blondes gear, as I'm sure you can tell. We'll go with the babyface Pillman Bengal trunks version here. That's the semi-main. Now the guys that are healthy that have an A popularity. So we got Goldberg, Windham, Dr. Death, those guys are all in the main event. So here I can go with my 1A versus A match. Yeah, Walter beating Gran Guerrero knocked Guerrero down from an A to a B popularity, but Walter's still stuck at B. We'll do this match as Goldberg against Steve Williams. These guys actually teamed up on the last show with an unsuccessful tag team, or the show before last show of the second year of this game. But they were teammates, so they lost, and I'll have them go against each other. Yeah, looking through this will be their first time ever match for this game at least. Probably real life as well for Goldberg and Dr. Death. Alright. This might be a good spot for Walter. Just the one invite this time with Pillman. He's already booked. Just had a match. I may go Walter against Barry Windham. Looking through some of the past results here. I don't remember them having a match, but some of this stuff starts to run together after a while. They're on opposite sides of a tag team match. That's not a singles match. So, okay, first time between Goldberg and Windham. Or I actually was one off. Never mind what I just said there. It's Goldberg and Williams. Reading one thing and thinking another. This is Windham and Walter. Weird having it this far down the card, but Walter is a B. So there we go, Windham against Walter. 3 matches remain. Should have 6 healthy wrestlers. So with guys with a B, got Gran, Malenko, T-Hawk's a B. So is CIMA. And then I got Cody Rhodes sitting here, kind of hanging out. Check something. I don't know if Walter. Yeah, they had a match on the December show, so they've just wrestled recently. So search here for Malenko. Malenko's actually lost 3 in a row. He's the New Japan Heavyweight Champion, as the game calls it. He was able to bring in Nakamura as a one-off when he still had the belt. Malenko beat Cody when they wrestled in August of year 2. Let's see. Okay. Malenko versus T-Hawk would be a first-time ever match for the company. So I may do that. And again, with a belt next to Malenko, it's not an AEW belt. For now, I'm opting not to have those defended. I'm not sure how only having one championship match on the show will affect things, though. We'll go YOSHI-HASHI against Cody Rhodes. Well, I guess there's CIMA and there's Yilong, and that's it. Although, wait. I wonder if I accidentally booked somebody who's actually injured. Somehow my count's off on one of them. I don't have Gordy booked. That's very strange. Okay, I guess my count was 2 off instead of 1. Guess I really could have done an 8-match show. CIMA and Yilong against Gran, Guerrero and Flyer. Although I need to actually make that a tag team match. 3-step process to remove a wrestler, removed, go back to the menu, go back to where I just was, and then put tag. Gran, Guerrero and Flyer. CIMA and Yilong. All right, that sets the show. Okay, if I didn't advertise anything, I could still get close to 30,000, but so, okay, this is better than last month, and that a print ad will sell it out. So clearly within the letter grades, there are different levels that you can reach as far as your popularity goes. Go and check the match styles. Stick with 30-minute time limits for everything except for the main event. It's a non-title match here with Cedric Alexander, the junior heavyweight champion. I mean, that'd be a great semi-main match if I could book it where I knew Cedric would win. But that's not possible, at least not yet. Thus, it's a non-title match, but we're going to get the sellout anyway, which is fine. I'd still like to sign Pillman to a contract. And I think there is a way to kind of beat the system if you keep trying to offer a contract and then quit without saving and reload, but that kind of goes against the spirit of the game. Double check that main event is one fall 60 minutes. I'll go ahead and confirm the match card. And again, once you hit this button, it doesn't even ask you, are you sure this is going to lock it in? No, it doesn't tell you. When you hit it, you're done. It's like when you go to vote, at least here in Tennessee. I used to be able to vote by mail when I was in Florida and then later in Ohio. Moved around a bit, but that's the nature of working in television news like I did for so long. But I got spoiled by the ability to be able to fill in a ballot at my own pace at home versus driving somewhere, waiting in a line, dealing with people who don't know the technology as well as I do and have to be patient and just sit through it. Anyway, that just came to mind, so thought I would share. Go ahead and save our show with it being booked at the training center and make the requisite repairs. All right, so we're set with that. Look at our merch. Okay, the goods haven't sold as much. And that was with a 40,000 fan show. I don't quite understand the product age. I'm not going to dispose of it. If this is like a warning, like this, after this show, the goods can no longer be sold. Stick with 1,000 for the branded snacks. That hasn't steered me wrong yet. I'm not entirely sure though how, if merchandise conflicts, like if I'm selling 1,000 DVDs, is that going to cut into my towel sales? I mean, in theory, you'd have X amount of money that fans can spend, and they're buying one thing, they're not buying another. But that could be an incorrect assumption on my part. So we'll go with the lower run, still a profit to sell them. T-shirts, 10,000. I was able to sell them out after a couple of months last time, so easy enough here. All right. And this part doesn't change. This is where I've got Burning Hammer, which is my only choice going into my third year as far as a main sponsor. I guess beggars can't be choosers. But I anticipate that being something that will go up as I continue to grow the company. As the game continues to play out, it seems to have certain points, like halfway points in a year, end of a year, where it'll introduce something new. I forgot that you have to do the financial stuff before you book the show. Well, these guys will have to wait until the next... I'll probably do one more month on here before I break for the evening. I finally get that Goldberg versus Omega match. This doesn't really let you build any sort of a special show like you might with a real life promotion. But yeah, we got 40,000 fans. I think we'll be good with that. Here we go. It's like watching the undercard on some of those New Japan spot shows that show up on New Japan World. Be a chore to go through the guys going 75% speed. Although they got the Young Lions in there, that could be fun. We'll skip this. Although skipping means still loading it up in the computer. Okay, this is getting weird. This is twice in a row now that there's been a tag team match in the opener that went to 30 minutes, which was the time limit. But CIMA gets the win over Gran Guerrero. 100%. I have to admit that feels rather unrealistic, but I'll take it. Okay, I will also skip YOSHI-HASHI against Cody. That qualifies as an upset. YOSHI-HASHI gets Cody to submit less than 8.5 minutes into the match. The butterfly necklock actually gets somebody to tap out for once. That means something. That might hurt Cody's popularity. He came into the match as a B. YOSHI-HASHI a C. Now this should be good. T-Hawk against Dean Malenko. It would have been fun to see T-Hawk in his prime against Malenko in his prime. I mean, T-Hawk can still go. Malenko's been retired for a long time. I'm hoping to see T-Hawk in the real life AEW. What's funny with Dean Malenko, I've considered him to be underrated for a long time. Some of his work is difficult to watch now because Chris Benoit was involved. And that's not really a fun thing to do, at least not for me. Which is too bad because Benoit, before he killed his wife and his son, was one of my favorite wrestlers. However, the thing with Malenko, I mean, in ECW, he had the gimmick where he never talked. And brilliant by Paul Heyman the way it worked out, because then I'm speaking at the final show where, right before he and Eddie Guerrero left for WCW. But even in WCW and later the WWF, I mean, Malenko was never like some master on the microphone. But I've heard that from a lot of people that Malenko is hilarious. I've never met him. I saw him have a fantastic match against Ultimo Dragon at Starrcade 96 here in Nashville, but I've never met him. But point being is that he's got a rep for being really funny, but for whatever reason, it never really translated into his wrestling persona. And Malenko can work so many styles, and he was really beneficial for WCW once they started bringing in some international talent. Put Malenko in there with a luchador. You could put him in there with a young lion type out of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he could get a good match out of a wide variety of people. Now, granted, if you get like 2 minutes for a match, like some of the craziness of the pathetic late WCW era, although he was gone before it went completely off the cliff. I don't know if any of you all follow Joey Janela on Twitter, but whoever came up, and I presume he was a large part of it, but whoever from his crew came up with the idea, along with him, for this promotional video. It's like 1:35 with a German version of 99 Balloons. You'll have to pardon me for not knowing the German translation off the top of my head, but it was brilliantly done. Basically, the theme was that the indies are dead, the indies are not dead, being his response. And a bunch of wanted posters up of various independent wrestlers that have signed relatively recently with WWE. Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Donovan Dijak. And I don't understand why they can't just let Donovan Dijak beat Donovan Dijak. It just makes no sense to me. I'm sure some sort of copyright reason, or who knows. But it's like Dijakovic or whatever they call him now. I try not to be disrespectful to the guys. They got a new gimmick and a new name. I try and stick with it, not be the smart and using the old name because I know. It's just Dijak was so much easier. I could have understood it if it's the other way around. It was a complicated name. I do find it funny that WWE will give fake names for their announcers, at least fake last names. That is much more like a radio gimmick with fake names versus TV. Although there were people in TV that used fake names that I knew, but for the most part, people use what they call their shoot names in the wrestling business. What it really sound like a smark. That could do it here for T-Hawk. Malenko escapes. But it's funny with Charlie Caruso, and she's done really well in WWE. I worked at WSAZ Television in Huntington, West Virginia. I had 2 different stints there as a news producer. And in between my 2 runs there, she worked there as a reporter. And it didn't work out well for her there, but she obviously was able to find a career path that worked exceptionally well, and now she's doing very well for WWE, about as well as you could hope somebody to do in that kind of crazy role. 2.9. Nearly had a finish 16 minutes deep into this one. But when I heard, I asked people about Charlie when WWE hired her, and everyone told me she is wonderful, sweetest, kindest person. And I heard that, I hope it's going to go okay with her. The wrestling business is not always built for that. And another near fall. But she's done a very good job with the limitations she's allowed to work from what I've seen. Another near fall. These two are having a classic. Vintage Malenko with a double underhook. That normally sets up the cloverleaf. T-Hawk gets the win. Waits right until I take a sip of my beverage right here. I'm glad to see that. That match deserved 100%. Some great near falls. T-Hawk has been a surprising wrestler for me. Somebody I thought was going to kind of filter down to the lower part of the card, but Malenko struggled and T-Hawk maybe moving up. So another first time, I think we drew 40,000. We gave him some first time ever matches. That includes this one, Barry Windham against Walter. The exception on the first time being the main event, but that particular matchup, Omega and Jericho versus Ambrose and Pac, was on the second show that I had in year 1. So this is right here in February, so this is 2 years later. So after 2 years, I think it's fresh enough to bring back as a return match. Certainly a larger crowd for this one than there was for the first, the way the company has grown. I'll go ahead and watch it. I'm going to have to try something different on the next show with a time limit in the opener. I mean, I'm not complaining about having back-to-back 100% matches in my hot way to open the show both times. But the fact that it had a decisive winner in both accounts that said exactly 30 minutes, which also happened to be the time limit, makes me wonder a few things. I'll book it like it's one of those WrestleMania weekend matches where a guy's working 2 shows in one night, and so he works the opener for Evolve, and then he cuts across town to WrestleCon or vice versa, or he's taking on Filthy Tom Lawler. Whatever. It was like, I want to think it was Zack Sabre Jr. and Chris Hero in the opener of a show. Was that 3 years ago before WrestleMania in Dallas, Eddie Dean's Ranch. If I'm not mistaken, they worked the opener. I think both guys had gigs later in town that evening. And it's great for them. I mean, that's, double payday, and in some cases more than double. So these guys work a lot. I vote every year in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards, and one category that always interests me is the most underrated. It seems to be the same type of wrestler, the ones that fans like a lot better. But to me, it's Chad Gable. And I realize now they're doing some stuff with him and Bobby Roode in WWE, but thinking that same weekend of the Sabre vs. Hero show I was talking about, we had that amazing NXT show, the Nakamura vs. Zayn, Nakamura's debut, and easily his best match of the company to date. For Nakamura, that is. Zayn's had some really good ones. But that opener of that show was the Revival against American Alpha. This I'm like an announcer from the 90s talking about the main event of another show and ignoring the match in front of me, but it has me on a bit of a tangent. But it was American Alpha against the Revival. That was this great match. The crowd was into it. I mean, talk about squandered opportunities. The WWE threw away with both teams. It's too bad. But, with Jason Jordan being injured, I don't know how long he's going to be out. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to come back. It's a shame. It was like the Brain Busters, where their gimmick was they're wrestlers who wrestle. Is it that some sort of a novel thing? But American Alpha is certainly not the first or last talent from NXT to be squandered on the main roster. Like Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze was in developmental for close to 4 years, I think. At least 3. Going back to FCW. And they brought him up and beat him in his first television match. I mean, if you're going to invest that much time in a guy, and he's still on the roster. I think he's a good wrestler. Go back and look at his match with Jushin Liger in NXT. You would have thought they saw something in Breeze to give him that kind of an opportunity against Liger. But then he's made to lose right out of the start. Now, granted, it was like a world title tournament match, but they didn't have to beat him right away, and they did. I think there's also a strong case to be made for Gran Metalik, Masquerade Dorada, who fans of CMLL and New Japan should remember. Obviously the CMLL guys, them being from Mexico, but I think with the exception of Sombra, Andrade, Dorada was probably, I don't want to make a broad generalization. I was going to say he's the best that I've seen out of there, but that's not necessarily true because they've also got Dragon Lee, who is amazing. Although, sadly, I think of Dragon Lee and I think about Hiromu breaking his neck. I was ringside on that maneuver didn't rotate through. And then they went ahead and did the finish anyway. I thought, okay, he's all right. Phoenix Plex. I was trying to think of the name of the move. And look, I've seen more than my share of injuries through the years between playing and 24 years as a sports broadcaster. It's amazing when I say it like that. But that 1995, WUEV, University of Evansville. I'm worried about the future of WUEV. I'm afraid I'm going to turn on my computer one day and I'm going to read that Educational Media Foundation has purchased WUEV for about half as much as the school should have gotten for it. That's my fear. But all I can say is that WUEV gave me the opportunity right away to get on the air as a sports broadcaster and be able to hone my craft. I was able to call so many variety. I was part of some of the very last football broadcasts. We didn't know that 1997 was going to be Evansville's last football season, but it was. It was a 1AA non-scholarship program, and I understand it's expensive. It was not a revenue sport for the school at all. They did what they thought was best. And if nothing else, at least I got the opportunity for a couple years to be able to call some college football games. Crowd's getting into it now. 2.9 count. Windham's taken some chops through the years. Those classic matches circa 1986, Ric Flair. WCW in 1991 would have had trouble no matter what losing Ric Flair. But the fact they didn't have him put over Windham on the way out and finally let Barry Windham get that win and get at that point it become the WCW World Championship. If that would have made a difference or if not. Another near fall. Big reversal right there by Walter. 10, 11. The way this game handles brawling outside the ring, I think, is an underrated trait. It's a positive. It's very much a positive of this game. And I'm in no hurry to put the mods into play here, but I do look forward to using the free cam mod for matches like this and get that angle that gives a much closer look at it. A small package and the victory for Barry Windham. That's 3 wins in a row for Barry Windham. Well, that turned out very well. Oh, TEW, yes. I love TEW. Total Extreme Wrestling. Yeah, I've purchased a couple of TEW games. I think it was 2012 that I had. And then 2016, I played a couple of years through it. And it was on my old computer that died on me. And I've got it. I don't know if the save still exists for it. I've almost thrown it in the towel at this point. One negative to the game is that it can turn into a major time vacuum. You blink and 4 hours have gone by. But I had this long, really strong run with Ring of Honor. Had Alex Shelley as my long-term champ. And it worked out really well. TNA turned into a women's promotion and thrived. Like a lot of the women that WWE's brought in through NXT in the past 18 months. Almost like they saw that happen and then took the idea, even though that's not obviously what happened in real life. so I haven't gotten TEW going again, but I know there's supposed to be a new one coming out next year. How about you? Do you play? It's another first-time match for this company, at least. Goldberg versus Dr. Death. 5th of 8 matches in total on the show. Sometimes I forget for a second that I've got a microphone where I can answer questions. Sitting there typing. Also, at a glance, if you're looking away from the screen and look back for a split second there, it looked like WCW Nitro, the original logo. At least that color scheme. Maybe it's just because Goldberg's in this match, I don't know. Funny how a lot of it was true to real life. As far as like WWE not letting go of anybody, it seemed like very few made it out just because the money there was so much better. Although I started to upset things a bit with that, messing with their salary structure because they negotiate with me, and then they come back and say, well, they're offering even more, and then it would take some sort of inordinate amount of money to even have a shot. At that point, lay back and just know that you've added some cost to your competition while also raising their salary scale. Thought popped into my head that I've never really contemplated. What was Dr. Death's best year, like as an in-ring performer? I think back to his stuff in Mid-South, working the Watts territory, UWF. He never was, at least in my opinion, given the kind of push in WCW that he deserved. Although in '92, when it was kind of those lean years, again with Watts, but some things translating from the past, some not as much within that structure. One of the good things that Bill Watts did was have some of those outstanding Williams and Gordy versus Steiner Brothers matches. I love those matches, and they hold up very well. It's funny with the Steiners, like their recklessness in squash matches made them, like, added a thrill factor. Their guys would get thrown around with impunity and used to not mess with the Steiners. Yeah, that's a good thing with AEW. If you could stream that, but that would work well. I own TEW 2016. Like I've still got the license for it, but I bought it like through, I think, was it Grey Dog? Is that the name of the software company? Don't want to get their name wrong. I don't know it offhand if that's not it. But I think you could also buy the game through Steam, and I'm not sure about that. But this Steam went from like playing a game in Steam to this Twitch feed, live stream. This has been so much smoother than I anticipated. Got this, it's called OBS, and they've got links for it on the Twitch page. No, Steiner's, and they came in at a lean time for that company. Early 93. I mean, you think about how many guys they lost, how many stars they lost from the 92 Rumble to the 93, and then Flair left soon after that. You know, you had the debacle, because Hogan came in and then left. And they had Luger, who was, you know, upper mid-card bad guy, immediately turns into Lex Luger, American hero. A lot of strange things happening with that. Yeah, the Steiners, I mean, they were champs there. You know, they were mostly given wins, but they weren't a special act in the WWF like they were in WCW. That's one underrated trait from early 90s WCW. Those guys, when they talk about their stars, those guys were like, you could, you know, there was Sting, Flair before he left, Lex Luger, superstar, when he was promoted, the Steiner brothers, nobody was, you know, going to get one over on them. And I didn't appreciate at the time just how cool it was getting guys like YOSHI-HASHI and Kensuke Sasaki, guys like that coming in working against the Steiners on live TV, on cable. You have to pay for a pay-per-view for it sometimes. Goldberg gets the victory over Dr. Death. So Goldberg bounces back, losing to Barry Windham on the last show in that double juice match. Easily the most blood I've seen in a match in this Fire Promoter game thus far. Just a couple of lucky hard ways, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like one of those guys has a fork. If you're ever willing to have a match that you want to have some color, as they say, some juice, some blood, just make sure you book a guy that has a like New Jack's got like he'll got the fork, because that's when I first got this game. The videos I've got up on YouTube on my YouTube channel, but it's like one of the most watched videos I have. It's New Jack going crazy in the game for whatever reason, and he stabbed Yoshi Tatsu over and over and over and over in a cage match. It was the craziest thing. Anyway, point being that if you want to get some blood, they make it fairly easy. If you want that for a quick exhibition. All right, 2 matches to go. I had tried to sign Brian Pillman to a contract. He just became available when one of my scouts found him. My scouts out. Some with a 2-month run, some with a 3. First one that came back here was Pillman. Pillman wouldn't take my contract offer, but I booked him with an invite. Wouldn't save first. 95% average card rating at this point, so looking good to that end. As you know, that main event being a tag match, it's likely to go past the 12 minutes that the last main event was under. And that's where if I had them, as I understand it, there's a mod, and I think it's within the Carlzilla, the mod pack. I think it allows you to tell the computer not to allow somebody to get pinned or made to submit a match. But I'm not sure about countouts and DQs. Yes, you gotta think it's pro wrestling things. Even a video game can get a little bit strange. All right, so spent some money to bring Pillman in for the one-off. Not a title match, but if he beats Cedric, I'll make that much of an effort to get him, bring him back in, and then do a match for the title. If I can get him under contract. And if not, figure something else out. But I kind of reached the point with Cedric in this game where if he hasn't fought against all of the junior heavyweights on my roster, it's close to it. But he's been rather dominant. Get back to the point I was making before about TEW. If you get through Steam, I think it would be rather easy to stream it, because this has been a much easier process than I'd anticipated. I mean, this headset I'm using, it was like $25 on Amazon, so not expensive. Near fall for Cedric. At some point, I really should give Cedric Alexander a shot at the heavyweight championship. But as long as he's junior heavyweight champion, I don't think it makes sense to do that. Hey, yo. What's up, Cobra Strike? So this is the non-title match. Junior heavyweight champion Cedric Alexander against outsider Brian Pillman, who one of my scouts found. I tried to sign him to a contract. He declined, even the big money offer, he declined it, but I was able to give him an invite for this show, and I would have made it a title match if he would have signed a contract, but not let him steal the championship. Near fall. All right. That's what I wanted to happen. I wanted Cedric to win the match, and he did. If I would have known that was the outcome, I would have definitely made it a title match, but I'm not going to risk it. I mean, the show sold out anyway. Got 40,000 people there. So, okay, 84%. They went in less than 15 minutes, but I'll take that because the value is in Cedric beating Pillman. Main event time. This is the same main event I had on the very second show of so February year one, the second show that I did in this fire promoter mode. It was main event was Omega and Jericho against Ambrose and Pac. And it says Dean in is blank because the creator of this wrestler, the CAW that I downloaded, unfortunately didn't put a name in the short name position. Yeah, I was pleased with how it turned out. I mean, Cedric got the win. It was a quality match. I'm gonna have to do some investigating on that. The opener, they got 100% that I had as a 30-minute time limit. It's 2 consecutive shows where I've just skipped the match, and it gives it a 100% rating, but the time right at 30 minutes, like you would think is a time limit draw, but it's with an actual winner. I'll show you better than just trying to explain it, like right here. Actually, I don't think it's going to open that. I can't click on it to open it again. User, excuse me. The joys of live streaming. Start to cough and die for the cough button. Like I was saying, Ambrose and Pac, they're the defending tag champs here against Omega and Jericho. It's been 2 years since we did this match. Full house. We've got 93% on the average card rating. I would be surprised if this main event got anything below 90%. But we'll see. to explain the situation here title-wise, Ambrose and Pac, they kind of got teamed up by me out of necessity more than anything when I had just a few guys on the roster. But they worked out as a really good team. It's been a really positive pairing. They win a lot and they have good matches, which is a nice combo. On the other side, you got Kenny Omega, who is the AEW heavyweight champion. The two-time champ now. He beat Terry Gordy for the belt, and then in a rematch, beat Gordy again. Then you got Jericho, who had the belt before Gordy. He also now, and has for a while, has the ECW heavyweight championship. Shane Douglas was out there as a free agent. He still had the belt. He came in, dropped it to Jericho, and that was that. I got both of those belts relatively late in the year, and when they had like the end of the year ratings, I was still like number 7. So that was strange because I had more championships than some other companies, and I had a couple of mid-major size promotion, or more than that with New Japan, really. That's their heavyweight championship. Or I guess the approximation of the IWGP heavyweight championship. But those are the sorts of little details I would love to be able to edit. Like having the New Japan titles either say IWGP or Never for the six-man, the Never Openweight six-man championship. There are limits. I don't think the game can handle the DDT Iron Man heavy metalweight championship belt. It's funny with that championship, the Iron Man from DDT. I actually saw it change hands a few times in Orlando at WrestleCon 2 years ago. But like, so DDT brought the title into existence in 2001, like a parody of WWF at the time, having the Hardcore Championship, and I guess WCW had it as well. Where like the WWF one was ridiculous, guys getting pinned in the hallway, which is almost like, I mean, WWE in a lot of ways is a parody of pro wrestling to begin with. That took it up a notch. But DDT, because they got like this madness genius thing going on, they managed to take it to some unexpected heights. Very interested to see what ends up happening with AEW as far as not only its television rights, but its digital distribution and its back catalog. And once they start to have events, I would think that's something they would want to set up ahead of time. There are a lot of disadvantages of starting from scratch, but one of the positives that you start fresh with everything, which in theory would make it easy to have all of your media rights lined up, and so there's not any overlap. Not like what happened with WWE in England with the main event show on the network, and their contract basically preventing them from showing the main event on the network until 30 days had passed. That's the sort of thing you run into when you've got a developing technology and things are given trial runs and then they're lined up, and sometimes that back and forth process, it can be difficult to get things synced up the way you want them. But if you know from the start what you have in mind and you can achieve that, in theory that should put you at an advantage. And AEW is going to need some advantages. Last time Ambrose and Pac defended the Tag Team Championship was on the December Year 2 show 2 months ago, retaining against Steve Williams and Bill Goldberg. But that match had the humor value of the Okai Yaburi, the stolen finisher, coming into play, and Goldberg stealing the dirty deeds and hitting that on Ambrose. Although I think the most surprising to date that I've seen, at least from my matches, was Ric Flair hitting the Okai Yaburi for the stolen finisher against Tetsuya Naito and doing the Destino finisher that Naito normally does. It's amusing to see Ric Flair create a wrestler do it. Jericho shooting the double tall man over while Omega's doing his point and bang spot. You think Ambrose can really get that high on a drop kick? It's still funny to me, 20 plus years later, the way guys fall out of the ring in this game. Although that's a different, more modern take on it, the knock the opponent off the apron move. Dragon suplex. I find it very strange that for stables in this game, you only are allowed 8 letters. So like I've got Jericho and Omega in a stable, but it's like Winnipeg. That's all I can fit. I mean, if Winnipeg were 1 letter longer, it wouldn't fit on there. But I haven't messed with that part of it all that much, and it doesn't seem to have affected the game. Springboard drop kick. The code breaker. Jericho too exhausted to go for the cover. Ambrose is fired up. That was some great timing. I missed the mod with the varying link for the strike battles. I'm going to stick with this on vanilla for a while until the downloadable content comes out and things get stable to that end. One-winged angel to retain. Pac was just too fast, and a code breaker for Ambrose. And Omega just saved Jericho from a German suplex. This turned into a good match. Tag Team Championship is on the line. 1 hour time limit. Typically it's a 45-minute time limit for tag team matches, but when this is the main event spot like it is tonight, it gets the full 60. Oh. Thought Jericho had him there. The code breaker. Oh, Ambrose was too late. We've got new tag team champions. So, the AEW heavyweight champion on the singles side, Kenny Omega, is now one half of the AEW heavyweight tag team champion. It's the first reign for Omega and Jericho, and it's a 100% match rating. So my card rating at the end here, 94%. Certainly aided by that 100% there on the very end. So you got Kenny as the AEW heavyweight champion on the singles side. Also Chris Jericho, the ECW heavyweight champion, although he doesn't defend that title here in AEW. I may change my mind on that at some point, but for now I'm just having him hold on to that, and Malenko hold on to the New Japan Heavyweight Championship. Trophies that can count toward our belt count. And hopefully these scouts will bring in some junior heavyweight so I can get the junior heavyweight championship filled. I don't care how often they defend it. Just want that credit for having the belt, and that seems to matter in this game. Isn't that a strange thing in that opener? And again, with 30 minutes, but it said it had a winner. And every other, in this category, the winner's on the left on everything else, except that first one. So I don't know if that's some sort of a bug in the game, or... because that's back-to-back shows with 30-minute exactly on the nose, which happened to also be the time limit. And those were both tag team matches. I almost feel obligated to run a tag team match there this upcoming show. See if it really is a glitch or just something that, well, I don't know. Well, that went well. Volador Jr. and Cavernario. Not as much money as I thought we were going to be making, but take a look at what we have left over merch-wise to get a better gauge on that. Still, $382,000 to the positive when all the expenses are paid. That certainly helps the bottom line. Okay, here we go. The singles tournament scheduled with Aero Lucha, which is game gibberish code for this month you should send over somebody to Aero Lucha that is a junior heavyweight that can compete. Or maybe they can do a heavyweight. I don't know if it has to be. If it differentiates that or how that works in this game. But it doesn't really link you up to tell you that. You have to kind of figure it out for yourself or be told it by somebody. Or maybe I was just slow on the uptake on it. In just a moment, I'm going to stop the video. Okay, Mike Awesome. It's like Tecmo Super Bowl when you get somebody back from injury. If any of y'all ever played that game on the Nintendo, I think it's the best Nintendo game. Certainly the best sports Nintendo game that was ever made. But, somebody be out for injury, like Bo Jackson, then they had this kind of special music, and they have nurses on top of the hospital waving. It was a very charming way, the way it was done. Oh, what a surprise. A scout brings back nothing. Do I need to upgrade the lounge again? Jericho wants more money. Cody wants some more money. Save. I'm going to stop the stream here for just a moment and then start it back up. Be the last month of the night for me, which is a very odd sentence to say. Anyway, I'll stop the stream now. We'll get going for March year 3 here momentarily.